So, my name's Jam. I'm an addict. I got you. All right. It's crazy. I can play music in front of thousands of people, and I'm cool with it. But when I do this kind of thing, I always get nervous. All right. So I want to start tonight with sitting in a state of contemplation or meditation or prayer, whatever term is most comfortable to you. And while we're sitting in this state, I'm going to play a song, and I'm going to play this song, and it's going to be played as a form of prayer. And while I'm playing the song, I'd like you to consider how it relates to your recovery and to your recovery community. When the night has come, land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. Oh, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. Darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. And won't you stand? Won't you stand by me? The sky we look upon should crumble and fall, and the mountains crumble the sea. I won't cry, oh, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. Darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand, yeah. Won't you stand by me? Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand? Won't you stand by me? The power of words and music joined together. The incomparable therapeutic benefit of one addict or alcoholic helping another. This disease that we here refer to as addiction, it feeds in darkness and thrives in isolation, and it withers and it starves in the light of community and connection. Connection. When you feel what I feel, when I feel what you feel, when I put melody to poetry and it causes you to see beauty, feel empathy, charity, humanity, community. When I cut myself open and I bleed onto the page, telling a story, and in doing so it somehow relieves your secret suffering, or unburdens your heavy heart, or makes you feel less alone because somehow you realize in that moment that I have found the words that express your pain, that I have found the words that express your isolation or your desperation. When a songwriter somehow has the ability to almost pluck from the ether the exact words that explain your guilt or your shame, your sorrow, or love, or hope, or loss of love, or loss of hope. In that moment of communion, we have shared in a spiritual experience. Earlier when I played that song, your thoughts, your feelings, your spirit were touched and transformed. And whether you realize it or not, you were influenced and moved by a power greater than yourself. In that moment of communion, we were in conscious contact with God. And there's that word, God. I have struggled mightily. It's a word with such power and prejudice that has turned many lost souls away from the fellowships of recovery. A word that can bring such peace and serenity to those who can embrace it, and to those who can't and turn and walk away. These days, oftentimes, it brings death. See, I grew up with a conception of God that was not my own. It was this archaic archetype of a medieval judging old man with a long white beard and billowy robes, sitting in a throne in the clouds, keeping a tally of my daily behaviors, and at the end of the day doing the math and deciding as a child if I would die, if I would go to heaven or hell if I were to die in my sleep that night. That was God to me. And at times I still can't shake that mental image. I held a resentment towards that guy. And to this day, I still find myself sometimes saying, the God of my understanding, as though I'm talking to that child inside of me, making sure that he knows that I'm not referring to that judgy old guy in the clouds. But I have come to learn that God can mean many things to many people. When I started, and I played the song Stand By Me, I asked that each of you take it in and consider how it relates to your recovery and your recovery community. And each of you hopefully did that. And each person's interpretation of that request was different. And it was perfect for them. It was correct. It was beautiful. It was what worked for them. And in that sense, it's easy for me to use that concept as a way to be able to respect each individual person's interpretation of God. For me in my life, and particularly in my recovery, I found no more perfect representation of God and spirit than that of music. Blessed with the gift of desperation, I checked myself into a treatment center in Rockford, Illinois about 3.5 years ago. And when I went there, I was told that I needed to open up to a power greater than myself. And having been beat into that state of reasonableness, I decided to listen. So having been blessed with that gift of desperation, I opened up to this power greater than myself, and that power manifested to me through music. And as I continued to cultivate my conscious contact with that creative source, I began to heal some of my deepest wounds. I brought a guitar with me when I went to treatment. And I decided that I was not going to get high anymore, but what that meant is that I was going to have to start to feel all of the feelings that I had numbed myself to for all of those years. I picked up my guitar, I opened up to a power greater than myself, and miracles started to occur. I often refer to myself like I was an old radio that finally tuned into the right frequency, and these songs just sort of started to play through me. And I would like to give you all an example. One of the things that we have to deal with in recovery, particularly in early recovery, is to deal with the wreckage of our past. And you know, oftentimes we hurt the ones that love us the most in our active addictions. My wife stuck with me through my addiction, through some horrible, horrible experiences. And I knew that when I came out of treatment that I was going to have amends to make, and I learned about this concept of living amends, which was, walking the walk rather than talking the talk, using the tongue in my shoes rather than the tongue in my mouth. So, sitting there in treatment, thinking about this wreckage and the amends that I was going to have to make, I wrote a song that I would like to share with you guys. A wise counselor of mine said to me that it was important when I went home to not say, but look how great I'm doing now. I'm in recovery. Look how, stop talking about those things. I'm doing great now. No, I was told that I needed to allow these people who I had hurt to be as angry as they needed to be, as spiteful as they needed to be, as distrusting as they needed to be, not just once, but for as long as was necessary. And particularly with my wife, that I had to allow her to be the storm, and that I had to weather that storm. The song I'm going to play is called Weather the Storm. This goes out to her and everyone else that we've hurt in our addictions. Scream and cry, breathe fire, treat me with silence and trip me with guilt, and I will stand still. Day after day, day after day, breathe, breathe, breathe fire, scream thunder, where your lightning, bring hurricanes round. As long as you're down, oh, spit thunder, spit lightning, spit all of your scorn. And I promise you that I will weather the storm.